All right. Good afternoon. It is a cloudy 81 degrees here. It's super humid here in Austin, Texas, especially here on the hilltop. My name is Josh Hankin, and welcome back to another installment of All Access Garage. Today, I am, welcomed by someone that I actually got the privilege to see at South by. I'm pretty excited. His name is Chris. Welcome. How's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Josh. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, well, it's an honor to have you here and whatnot. Again, how I managed to see you guys was I was I was in like I just interviewed Melt Band. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Definitely know
I
those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, we went ahead and I interviewed them, and well, we're like, oh, we're gonna be at South by. So I got the number, we started chatting, and they're like, you should totally come watch this band called Bodywash. We're here. I believe it was at the Swan Dive. You guys performed at the Swan Dive.
Oh yeah.
We went there and I met up with them, and I'm telling you, literally the first song in, I was sort of just jamming out, having fun. You guys were just having too much fun on the stage, so it was just so much fun to to see how in depth you went with your music. So I'm pretty excited to dive in and see just know you a little bit more better in the band as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's why we play South by essentially. So yeah.
Right on.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. Let's get started, shall we?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So where did where did this project begin? Where did this start for your band?
So I think it started like probably 8 years ago now, like a really long time ago now. I think about it. But yeah, it was initially like more of a band in the sense that we had five members and we started jamming in our like university residence basement. Just kind of classic coming of age story there. And we all kind of were into similar influences. We wanted to start a dream pop band, and our first shows were all like these university shows and stuff like that, and that went pretty well. But over the years, like our lineup changed quite a bit. But the most consistent thing has been Rosie and I, who are like the primary writers in the band. And so we changed the name. It was called something different back in the day, but we changed the name to Bodywash in 2016. And yeah, since then, like we've released an album. We have another one in the works. And so yeah, it's a very like I'm trying to think of the way best way of describing it. But yeah, I mean it's its own project now.
Right on, right on. And so perhaps for you guys, or I guess for you rather, was there
Mhm.
anyone who inspired you possibly to get into the music scene for that case?
Well, I'm not originally from Canada, so I kind of moved here partially because I knew the music scene was like really cool over here. So, when it was like 2013 when I moved here, so it would have been like bands like Broken Social Scene, were really big in Canada at the time, like probably Arcade Fire back in the day. I just kind of knew it was the place where it was all happening, and like there's a crazy electronic scene here as well, for example. So it's kind of like a Montreal music choose your own adventure when you come here, which is nice.
Right on. Yeah, I know that. I know a lot of bands, especially from Canada, are just booming right now. I think
Mhm.
some of them. I think I've been actually getting to a lot more, especially for me personally. The whole American rock band is just my thing.
Mhm.
It's just kind of going a little bit stale. It's more of the same old thing. I feel like, and I
Mhm.
feel like people from the Canada, especially from the UK too, are
Mhm.
bringing such a new. They're experimenting with their music, and it sounds way much more better, in my opinion. I think that's what also makes it just so much more fun to listen to.
Mhm.
So I agree with you on that. That was a really smart move for you over there when the music scene comes by.
Something in the water. Yeah.
There you go, right? So, kind of focusing a little bit more back into the band, perhaps, where did the name Body Wash come out of it? And perhaps is there a story behind that?
I kind of wish we had a better story behind it, to be honest. But we ran the old name ran its course. We were looking for a new one. We tried like every cliche in the book. We locked ourselves in a dorm room with a bottle of whiskey. We were just at our wits' end, really trying to find a band name that hadn't been taken already, or wasn't like super cliched or generic or something like that. And honestly, I think Rosie was just looking through like a grocery list at some point and just saw the name and saw like body wash on the grocery list and just read it out like somewhat accidentally. And we were like, oh, yeah, that's cool. That works. So,
And it rings perfectly. I think that's something that's awesome because, like, again,
Mhm.
at first when Chris from Melt he just said, hey, we're gonna listen to Body Wash. I'm
Mhm.
like, Body Wash, that's such an interesting name. And at first I thought I misheard something when I was calling him. But he's like, no, and you guys had it, and I was like, dude, that's such a very like catchy name, just a unique name to have because you have all these other bands who have these other names, but this one's just
Mhm.
like has a catchy tone to that, and I enjoy that. I think that's something that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty. pretty polarizing, but I think it's memorable at the end of the day, which is kind of what you want with a band name. Yeah.
Of course, I
Mhm.
think, like I said, I think you guys totally killed it for sure on that one. I really did. So,
Nice. Mhm.
for yourself though, um, what do you do outside of music? Do you perhaps have any hobbies, attend any events, sports, or something like that?
Yeah, no, I do quite a lot. I mean, we're still at the stage of our careers where we have like, day jobs and whatnot to fund the music lifestyle. So, I work for a hospitality company in the operations department, which is not super interesting. But it actually helps pay for our tours because essentially I'm able to like put up the band for free when we go on tour via these kind of these Airbnb rentals that we get. So it's kind of like a nice symbiotic relationship there. But otherwise, I mean, I'm in quite a few projects based in Montreal. So I'm kind of always just playing or recording or gigging, anything along those lines. I cook a ton, play a lot of football, which I guess you'd call soccer in the US. I got to make sure it's friendly for the audience that we're catering to. I don't know. I think that's about it really. Rosie's a fantastic writer. Like, definitely would encourage everybody to check out her written work as well. But yeah, I think that's about it. Mhm.
And I guess kind of because I'm a big hockey person here,
Mhm.
so I guess I have to ask, right? I've asked plentiful times, but do you perhaps living in Montreal, do you kind of get into the whole hockey mentality they have there, perhaps? Such as the
Yeah.
Canadians they have, the
Yeah,
Montreal
like
Canadiens.
with the playoff run that the Canadians had last year, like I definitely got into it more around then. Like I'm at the stage of like a hockey appreciation where I've like just figured out how to see the puck on the ice. So like that's kind of where I'm at. But like the city was going crazy during the Canadians playoff run, and like people like myself that maybe hadn't watched that much hockey in the past were kind of won over by the magic of the playoffs and stuff. So it was cool just seeing like a whole city united in their appreciation of the Habs.
No, oh, definitely, yeah. I know. I think you'd appreciate, I guess, soccer or football in this case for you.
Mhm.
Kind of from South Texas. That's where I grew up.
Mhm.
It's more near Mexico, and they have a lot more appreciation for soccer or football. I
Mhm.
guess you would rather. It's they have, and that's the thing though. When I told them, I was like, I really do love hockey or something like that. They
Mhm.
go and looked at me and they're like, you're telling me in a hot, like, it's not, I wouldn't say a desert, but just extremely hot, humid, and
Mhm.
disgusting weather. They're like, you like hockey? And I'm like, dude, it's the best. I mean, maybe that's just me, right? But
Maybe that's why you like it. Yeah.
it's just trying to get out of the heat, right?
Yeah, exactly. You need a little break.
So that's interesting, and I guess kind of going back onto you, right? For if it wasn't perhaps for music, where do you see yourself? Maybe.
I mean, that's a tough one. I did a pretty useless degree for my undergrad, so it's kind of difficult to say where I'd have ended up. I did like history and art history, really. I don't know. Probably would have done a master's and tried to get into various programs that way. Perhaps go down the academia route. In this case, I don't know. Like, I think when I was like 13, I took one of those careers tests, and it told me that I was going to be either an art teacher or an investment banker. So like maybe somewhere between there.
And if you can, because I mean, I guess the personal question for me is more that those career tests you have, I never taken one, I guess, right?
Mhm.
Because it's at least where came from in my school, they were much more like
Mhm.
you were given these set courses, you take them, and I guess you pick an
Mhm.
interest, and then in high school, that's when you start choosing
Mhm.
where you go. So if you can maybe explain what that maybe is.
Oh, I don't know. Like it's just something that like they didn't make you do. It was like an optional thing where
Oh,
like
gotcha.
they do like if you like aptitude tests or whatever, and then talk about what you liked doing, and it's kind of ridiculous at like 14 to be like, okay, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you think you'd be best suited for? But I guess like education, particularly in England, has this obsession with categorizing and classifying everything. So, I don't really think you should be telling kids that age what they should or shouldn't be doing in the future. But I mean, yeah, I guess it maybe made some parents kind of happy.
No, and to your point, it's very. I don't think it's they still have a lot to learn. I think that's
Mhm.
something that maybe you would agree with,
Mhm.
especially because they're still trying to figure out themselves as a person. So having
Yeah,
them, I guess, at that age is kind of it's
yeah.
not a bright idea to
No,
have.
it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, honestly. I think my friend got like warehouse floor manager as his future career, and now he's like a rave DJ. So he actually plays warehouse floors, but he's DJing instead. So yeah, it's funny how these things can like come back and haunt you in funny ways.
There you go. Well, I mean, look at you now. I mean, now you perform. You were officially a South by artist, so I think that's
Mhm.
something that worked out perfectly.
That's so
At
sweet.
least kind of helped favored you in the best, right? So,
Yeah.
um, kind of, you mentioned that you had this project, Bodywash, for quite a while.
hmm
So kind of, if you can take us back to, kind of how the pandemic and how it
hmm
affected you as a band, and how perhaps did you come out of that? What I guess, how did you try to overcome it, rather?
Yeah, I mean, it was really tough because like we around the time of the pandemic, like March of 2020, I think we had like a huge tour booked. We are going to be playing South by again. We're going to be touring through North America. We had a great booking agent lined up who was going to find us a bunch of shows. We'd started work on our album. Everything was looking pretty great actually. And then I think Mexico and the UK as well. We were going to be touring that summer. And then I think the day, and we were also due to play at the New Colossus Festival in New York the week before South by. I think the day before we were supposed to leave to New York, like we kind of had to have this game time decision where we were like, hey, there's this like kind of nasty looking virus floating around in New York. We were having brunch and discussing it with our management, and we kind of made the executive decision not to go. And then the next day, the World Health Organization kind of decreed it a pandemic. And we were like, okay, well, I feel pretty vindicated, and like loads of people were trapped down there and couldn't come back up. So I think, initially we were like, okay, we made a good call. This could have gone disastrously wrong. We could have been stranded on tour. And then I don't know. I think there's been a lot of literature written about like the pandemic and the adverse effects it's had on musical artists for the most part. I think there's been some good that's come out of it because I think particularly with our kind of music and the way I like to write, coming out of this kind of being in a kind of solitary state does help that a little bit, but that only really works if you're having kind of lived experiences at the same time to recollect and kind of channel into music. So I think initially there was like this big creative spark that would come from having all this free time on my hands, just being at home. But then after time, you kind of run out of stuff, yeah, of creativity really, because there's just not anything else going on in your life that you can channel into your music.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think mentally, it's it has hurt a lot of people.
Mhm,
I think that's something that a lot, even to this day, it's still affecting a lot of people. I know that.
mhm,
I now, of course, trying not to get all political and whatnot, but with the vaccines, it's more kind of trying to come out, push it slowly to where things can kind of go back to the normal scene to the way it
mhm,
was prior.
mhm,
And for me, I guess especially when I go out, like kind of like in a space right now where I'm at, I have no one's with me, I'm by myself.
mhm,
Yeah, I feel comfortable. But then when you have, a group of people, especially inside, it just kind
mhm,
of, at least for me, you just, maybe it's just that, traumatic thing that kind of happened, when the whole
mhm.
pandemic, you just don't want to get sick. So,
Right.
especially with my asthma, it's a whole thing, it's a
Yeah, I
whole thing and
bet.
a half.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
I think that it's hurt a lot of people, but
Mhm,
um, it's a good thing, and I always say it, and I'll say it again, and this time around, it's important to ask for help, especially if you're going through something mentally. Perhaps maybe you'd agree with me on that, because a lot of people, especially nowadays, it's hard to get out of what I guess
mhm,
transition from, you know, what we were then to now. If that makes sense. If I'm kind of going off on a tangent in the right direction,
mhm. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, hopefully, it worked out well. I mean, it seems now like again, I'm happy that you guys are back. Again, it was the first time I met you guys over there at South by. I believe Rosie. I took a picture
Mhm,
with them. After they were done, I'm like, hey, you guys like totally kicked ass, and it was just so much funny. And to me, that
mhm,
moment right there was much more of a feeling where it's like, is this kind of going back to normal with the whole music scene prior
mhm.
to what it was? Because normally I wouldn't be doing that, but then I was like, you know what, this is more of a, maybe this is a sign that things are heading out for the best.
I think
And
so. Yeah. I mean, that's why South by was so confusing for us because the last time we went was like 4 years ago in 2018, I think, and lots happened since then, like in the world and in our lives, and so ostensibly everything was kind of the same as when we were last there. People weren't really masking at all, and everything was kind of it was like business as usual essentially. But on the inside, everybody's like a little bit broken, to be honest. So it's kind of
oh yeah,
interesting. Like on the surface, you don't really see much, and you talk to people, and you're like, how was your pandemic? Well, obviously I wouldn't ask that directly, but like that's kind of the undercurrent there.
Of course, and kind of, I guess,
Mhm.
straying away from that subject. It's more of more now
Mhm.
going on your tours now. Again, uh, for the billionth time, you guys were at South by.
Mhm.
That's literally, I think, if I did my research correct, that's the third largest festival in the United States. I
Mhm.
believe in North America. So with that said, how does it feel to looking back at your previous tours? How has it shaped you and put the music scene into perspective for you and your band?
I mean, it's different everywhere you go, really. And I think we haven't really done extensive touring around North America, but the cities that we've been to, it's been interesting getting these little snapshots around everywhere. So, like Austin was really cool because obviously it's totally different in South by to when to how it is usually. But just seeing like the variety of playing in like so many venues because we played probably like 4 shows over that time, and we are seeing shows in all these other places. It was cool just seeing like the variety of venues that you had there, the variety of vibes, places that were like mezcal bars or whatever that are becoming kind of popping venues. It's really cool. And I don't know, it also puts it into perspective, like that we have a pretty unique scene here in Montreal, really, where it's like it kind of supports whatever you want to do. It's a little microcosm within itself, and we're lucky that we have like a government system that kind of really does try and foster artists and creativity however it can.
That's great. I mean, I think that's something that a lot of places don't have. I think
Mhm.
going back to what you mentioned, the whole idea of supporting the people who work there and do their certain jobs, I think that's something that we unfortunately didn't have. In fact, I know at Austin prior to the pandemic, we had a ton more bars, a ton more venues, all this stuff, and it closed. And that's why I believe also too, in came this organization called HAM that would help Austin music artists, and it tried to do its best, which it is. It's amazing, but you know, I wish, in a sense, our government was kind of had the same vision as yours, where it was more of understanding that these people, this is their livelihood, and they should help them. Instead, there
Yeah.
was a lot of
Mhm.
people who, unfortunately, um, was much more just told them like, "Oh, get a job," like as if that wasn't already their
Mhm.
job, which was
Yeah.
extremely upsetting because it's like these people do this because they love it because that's their livelihood.
Mhm.
So having that mentality, but kind of going back, you visited Austin and whatnot. Actually, was I always like to say, it's I did my research and whatnot, and it was much more that you guys went to Terry Black's, which, by the way, I don't know how you guys managed to do that. Literally, people will wait there until like 5, 4 in the morning to get the barbecue, and it'll be
Mhm.
sold out by the afternoon. So you guys, I went there and I was like, holy cow! Like you guys did it, and I was just like, that's
Mhm.
amazing.
That was like pure luck almost. Actually, I think we went at like it probably was like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. right before they closed on a Sunday or something like that, or a Saturday. So that was our secret, like our top tip. We was beginner's luck. We just we went with it and it worked out. We had some awesome barbecue, so no complaints from it from us.
I'm not even joking. I never had barbecue from Terry's. That's how crazy it's been. So I'm a little bit jealous, right? Going
I
into
can,
this,
yeah. I didn't
but
know how blessed we were, I guess.
yeah. So kind of, going on that too. Perhaps was there any other places you explored in Austin? Went ahead and did anything fun? Perhaps maybe for the people who are still trying to explore Austin or who are listening. Is there anything if someone coming in from the outside coming in, what would you recommend?
I mean, it's super cliche, but like we always go for a dip when we're in Austin. It's like there's not a lot of great like natural water reserves that we can swim in Montreal. I mean, there are a few, but like you have to drive a bit. So like we always head down to like the Barton Springs area and like go on a hike through all the nature that we have there and like have a little dip in the pool or like the surrounding areas. And it's just I like the vibe there a lot. It's like a little oasis in the desert, effective. Well, it's not a desert, but close enough. Yeah. No, and I think like if you're playing South by or something like that, it is very exhausting and all consuming, and like sometimes you do need to just be away from the crowd and just go and chill by a body of water. So that would be like our only recommendation. Like we really didn't do much other than like play while we were down there. So
Right on, right on. So
mhm.
then, kind of still going back to tours, the ones that you performed at, was there something memorable or funny you'd like to share with us, perhaps?
Yeah, I had to think about it for a I don't know. Last time we played Philadelphia was like absolutely hilarious. I have such fond memories of that city because of the show that we played. Because it was like an outdoor wedding venue that we played, I think. So like the cute little gazebo and stuff. And not many people. Sometimes we didn't have a big crowd out there, but like everybody out the crowd that came, like there were people who were like big Bodywash fans, and we were, signing our merch and stuff. But it was in this wonderful like performance art space. There's a wonderful performance art space adjacent to the venue, and so we'd go in there to like load our gear, and there was also like a performance art piece being done at the same time. So we'd kind of go in and be like incorporated into this really bizarre play, and then come back out to like play our show and whatnot. And it was very very strange to be honest. And we got cut off by like a city curfew, I think, at like 10 p.m. Or something like that, and couldn't really finish our set. But like one really vocal fan was like, "Let them finish their set," and started screaming it. And eventually, I think the sound person just got tired of hearing it and let us play our last song. So, yeah, Philly was a good time.
And shout out to the fan, right? Shout out to the guy who,
Shout out to the
or the
fan,
person.
yeah, mad respect.
There you go. There you go. Well, again, you have again, kind of going back into your what you're mentioning right now about your fan base. You guys have a reasonable sized fan base, and I think that's amazing because especially how that person, you guys being based in the UK, I'm sorry, based in Montreal, and now going to Philadelphia, and you have like a huge fan there. People who were excited to see you. How does it feel? And what makes those fans unique, perhaps from other bands?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it a lot because it's like these people have clearly found us through the internet, and like we're not like a super online band when it comes to it. Like I'm very technologically illiterate and can barely use social media. So you can fact like Rosie's the one that's definitely doing all of that and killing it. But like we're not like super online in that way, so it's kind of funny when these people find us, and I think it's always these like kind of weird niche music communities, like people on YouTube that are kind of finding this stuff via channels. People are making like playlists on Spotify or SoundCloud or whatever, and people finding music really organically like that. So it's kind of cool to like be part of this like little scene in Montreal, but then also have people who are just like lovers of dream pop or shoegaze or whatever, just being able to find the music really organically, connect with it, and then and then seeing those fans in Philadelphia, like, oh, yeah, like one of them told us, I think, because our like limited edition vinyl has this kind of like white and gold marbling on it, and he told me after the show, he's like, yeah, whenever I put the vinyl on my turntable, it looks like a corn tortilla spinning around, and that just stayed with me forever. And I love being able to meet people that are into the music and also have really unique insights into what our vinyl looks like, apparently. Yeah.
No, definitely, definitely. I think and I will go a little bit more actually into that because vinyl collecting is something that I do. In fact,
Mhm.
I probably have over 100 plus vinyls now,
Mhm.
which I literally, I adore. I think that's something that having physical music is amazing. But we'll touch on that. I know this, but kind of, especially not talking about your songs now, right?
Mhm.
Perhaps, what are, how does a song come into existence for your band? And perhaps, do you have any themes that you try to follow for those certain songs?
Not so much themes. I think like Rosie and I write in quite different ways, but they're quite complementary in a lot of ways because she's, I guess, more of a traditional like singer-songwriter, and so for her, like the lyrics and the music kind of come together. Or like she's such an incredible writer that there's always like lyrics, fantastic lyrics knocking around, and then she'll very much try and like make them work with the chords and the structure of the song. I come from more of like a production background, I guess, and primarily more electronic music, so my mind kind of just works in loops for the most part. So I don't know. I think my way of writing music would drive most people absolutely insane because I just kind of sit there and I have to I'll write 2 bars of music, like everything, every instrument and like the vocals and everything. And then I'll fully produce it and mix that 2 bars. And only when I've done that can I move on to the next section. So it takes like just an inordinate amount of time to finish anything on my end, which is why it's great working with Rosie because like she can bring me a song, and a lot of the songs on the album that we've just finished were kind of born out of her kind of writing fully fledged songs on just like synth and voice giving to me, and like I wouldn't even be in the same place as her. Sometimes we'd be working remotely, and I'd sit there and kind of just like remix this like skeleton track essentially, and then turn it into a Bodywash track that way. So yeah, that's kind of a long answer, but that's the
No,
gist
but
of it.
definitely, but it makes sense because I mean, and kind of to your point, and I think I've talked to a lot of people about this, and it makes a lot
Mhm,
more sense where you're more that you're making the music that you love, that
mhm,
you like to listen to. You just don't want to make something that just doesn't sound. In other words, I guess what I'm trying to get is it's something authentic to yourself,
yeah.
something that you
Mhm,
like. You're not gonna make something that you're like something for someone else because they like it. You're gonna be like, that's not us or who we are.
mhm.
So I
Yeah.
think it's important, and to your point, I think it's important that when you're making these songs, you as a person enjoy it, and if sure you have people who don't like it, and it's people who do,
Mhm,
and for the people who do, they have by the way, an amazing
mhm.
taste in music, by the way, but you have a lot of it's important to realize that like you as a person, or I guess as a band, it's your music. It's something that you all enjoy, something that
Mhm,
you all agree on and whatnot. And I think you guys killed it.
mhm,
I went home after the night. I think that night specifically, I ended up getting home like 2, 3 in the morning, and
mhm,
I went ahead and I started just listening to you guys for some reason. I just started listening, and I wrote down on my iPhone, just kind of going around who I listened to, and you guys were there, and I started listening to y'all, and it was just like it was just amazing. You guys were just absolutely. I was just bopping my head the whole night. Although I decided to go to sleep way later because I was just listening to everyone's music I was listening
mhm.
to.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't recommend doing that because I had work in the morning for South by, and I came home. I came there just super tired. I had like what
Mhm,
4 or 5 hours of sleep, but it was all worth it listening to everyone's music,
mhm,
especially yours, because even now today, I'm like even when I was walking here, I just put randomized on Spotify, and you guys came up, and I was just it was just something that I don't want to change because I don't know if you have that ever feeling where you're just trying to look for a song on
mhm,
Spotify. This one's much more like it's on there, and you're just like let it go because it was just so
mhm.
much fun to listen to. So
Yeah, that's funny to hear. I think people have described our music as insomniac music before, so it's yeah, kind of appropriate that you had that experience. Although, get some sleep, you will feel much better for it.
so it's perhaps right now individually as yourself, do you have any music right now you're listening to, any albums, perhaps any other just kind of give us
Mhm.
anyone music recommendations right now.
Yeah, it's a bit all over the place right now, to be honest. Like I've been listening to the new FK Twigs album on repeat because that's a pretty crazy album. Like I was back in the UK briefly over yeah, over the holidays, and like kind of just kind of picked up on a lot of what's going on there with the post-punk scene. So I've been listening to that Squid album a lot because
Oh
it's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
an incredible album. Otherwise, I'm trying to think in terms of who's doing cool stuff. Wednesday is another band that I got really into from Asheville, North Carolina. You're also playing South by. They're great. They make this kind of cool like country shoegaze medley. And then I don't know, I have like my primary like kind of sleep soundtrack, which is Harold Budd, his the Pavilion of Dreams by Harold Budd, which is like he passed away last year, but is definitely like my favorite ambient composer of all time, and like will never fail to make me feel more at peace when I listen to his music. So that's a good recommendation.
Why not? And perhaps kind of also going back to the whole vinyl conversation we
Mhm.
had. Do you perhaps collect vinyl?
I have like it's kind of smattering of vinyl, but I don't really have like a record player at the moment. So it's yeah, it's a bit awkward. I just have this like kind of collection that's just sitting there, and it's like kind of purely ornamental at the moment, which I guess is like kind of fake. But yeah, it's there and it will get played eventually. But some of my friends are like, especially in the electronic music community, are just like enormous heads essentially and have the crazy big collections. So if ever I want to listen to something cool or pick out something cool, I'll just head to their place and whack it on the turntable.
Well, next time you're here in Austin, or perhaps at any I guess music shop, we have
Mhm,
one here called Waterloo Records. I don't know if you're
mhm,
familiar with it, but we go ahead. I would go there, and everyone hates going with me because I can
mhm,
be there hours on end. In fact, the other day I
mhm,
was there. I had
mhm,
stayed there for about a good 3 hours.
mhm,
And what I do is, and I always say this is a dangerous thing to do, is I'd put on my earphones and I understand the whole idea of you shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Mhm.
I look at some vinyls and I'm like, whoa, that looks cool. And I start playing some music while I'm listening, and I'm like, kind of you doing it, and I'll go in there with like what $30. I end up leaving with the purchase of like $150, $100.
That's
It's
classic.
terrible. That's why
Mhm.
I don't go there often. But when
Mhm.
I do, I typically end up spending a lot more than I should have,
That's
and
how
that's
it
why
goes.
that's why
Yeah.
I guess I'm a broke college student at that point, right? Whatnot.
Yeah, you're feeding into the cliche that way. Yeah.
It
It's
is, but
that's the
you
thing.
know. I'm sorry. Go for it. Sorry.
I was gonna say you carry on doing that after college, and then you're just plain broke. So you have to moderate yourself at some point.
No, for yeah.
Yeah.
So I go ahead and I'm like now it's just
Mhm.
it's I guess like the other day I went last week and I ended up picking up some other albums. In fact, one of yours I actually ordered your guys' album this
Mhm.
past week. I ordered it. I was listening to it and I ordered it off of Tower Records, I believe, or somewhere around
Mhm.
there. I ordered it. Well, it should be coming not to me but to my house down in South Texas.
Mhm.
So when I go down, I'll have something new to listen to. Pop in the
Sick.
vinyl.
I hope you got the tortilla version because that's the good one.
If I have the tortilla version, I'll make sure to let you know
Yeah.
and show
Send
the
us a pic.
tortilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean again, I totally recommend doing that. Popping in some earphones or something. But again, it's a whole dangerous thing. I don't know if you're to something that I wouldn't recommend because for me at least, because I
Mhm.
typically will lose a lot of money inside the record shop
Yep, you got
doing
to know
that.
yourself.
So as far as right now, you mentioned you have a new project on the way.
Mhm.
Perhaps. So you know do you want to go ahead and let us know? Is there like a date that's coming out on it? I believe you played a couple songs at South by, correct? Or maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, we did. Like, I think most of this material we're playing at South by was new material. We kind of just wrapped up the mastering of it, so it's like it's good to go. It's all set in stone at that point. But we've been working on it since the last record came out, essentially. So 2019 or thereabouts. So it's been in the works for a really, really long time. Like I said, some of it was conceived when Rose and I were like living in different countries and like kind of having this long distance creative relationship. And I feel like every album that comes out after the pandemic is a pandemic album in some way, but it's not necessarily like yeah, deeply rooted in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're not sure when it's coming out just yet. Everything happens in its own time, and like even then, with the vinyl kind of situation right now, it's going to take like 9 months just to press a vinyl. So I don't want to get anybody's hopes up about the release.
Well, you best believe. Well, hopefully when the vinyl comes out and your new
Mhm.
album, I'll be one of the people who gets it right off of it. And the cool thing is,
Mhm.
again, again going back to Waterloo,
Mhm.
it's more that they have every single thing there. So I have access to a lot of vinyls I can do. So you best believe when it's there, I'm probably gonna pick it up and well, probably I will pick it up and jam out with it. So I'm looking forward to that with you guys.
Hell yeah, that's what I want to hear.
So as of right now, just kind of looking back to everything you've done to now, what words would you give your younger self and why?
I don't know. I think I probably tell myself to be less of a perfectionist when it comes down to it, and just I think when you're young, it's very easy to get fixated on the little things and like not really realize how carried away you're getting about something that like pretty much only you and maybe like some guy with like supernatural hearing, on the opposite side of the world could hear, and you just waste a lot of time doing that when you could be looking at the bigger picture of a song or an album or something like that. So yeah, I tell myself just to like stop obsessing over the little details and yeah, try to have a bit more fun and think about the bigger picture.
Right on. Yeah, I think it's a very important thing, especially,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of the time the people who come on and answer that question, it
Mhm.
helps me also grow because it's like I think those words that you would give yourself would perhaps help a lot of other people, especially for me because I never had that opportunity growing up, getting
Mhm.
that thing, especially coming down from South Texas, where it's extremely again not trying to get political or anything, but more very conservative in a sense where guys are supposed to be like grow up, grow some balls, all that type of crap, and it's just it's terrible. And I wish people would like especially those words you told yourself,
Mhm.
just kind of or you would have I wish someone would have told me that, or I would have figured that out earlier. So
Yeah, don't listen to the haters. It's simply not worth your time. So
I
yeah.
agree. I
Mhm.
agree.
Mhm.
Well. here we are at the end. Again, it's I'm really happy that you guys just like I said, you came and just chilled out with us. It means a lot that you
Mhm.
took the time out of your day, and it's something that we're here at St. Ed's. We're really happy to have you.
Mhm.
But before we close it out, you want to plug anything? Do you want to go ahead and whatnot? Jay, I don't know, plug anything that's going on.
No, not off the top of my head. I think, yeah, like that was like the only bit of touring that we had to plan for the foreseeable future. So when the album comes out, please listen to it. Please buy the vinyl. Yeah, if you feel like buying Comforter on any of the formats or streaming it, by all means, be our guest there. So yeah, just a classic self plug. Nothing beyond that.
There you go. Well, like I said, Chris, thanks for joining us. I'll talk to you after the interview goes, but as of right now, like I said, thanks for joining us here. It means a lot that you're here with us, and yeah, as of right now, for the all actors, we'll go ahead and we have some more guests coming in on the way. The school year is closing though, so unfortunately, we're gonna have to close out this season, right? But I'm glad in fact, you were actually in the first season, believe it or not.
Oh,
This
really?
it, yeah, this is
Okay.
actually the first. This is the first semester I did this. I started in January, and I've had a lineup. And well, you were officially in the first season, so that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, happy to be part of the inaugural season. Yeah.
There it is, right? But thanks so much for joining us. I will talk to you soon. And again, thanks for joining us here at St. Ed's.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for the insightful questions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.